Welcome to the Learning Jam Club podcast. I'm Amanda, your host, a learning experience designer who's worked with companies like Canva, Shopify, and Netflix. And I'm here to guide you through nurturing a growth mindset, celebrating learning, and unlocking your fullest potential. As a variety is the spice of life enthusiast, join me embracing the diverse paths of designing the lives that we love. In this episode, I'll be taking you through an insight into me, Amanda Wing. Wow, where do I even start? I think when people see me now as I am in 2024, they see, oh, Amanda's worked for really cool companies. Oh, Amanda's doing this. Oh, Amanda's doing that. Oh my God, how did you know? Blah, 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 blah. But one thing that people don't see is the amount of work that I put in, the hardships, the fear of failure, imposter syndrome. Oh my gosh, like what else? Fuck, so much learning and growing and yeah, just a lot of that stuff that people don't see at all, and I don't usually talk about it. But now I'm going to talk about it because I think everyone's journey is so different. We don't have the same journey, and it might take someone to get to their end destination, in one go, or it might take someone 15 steps to get to where they want to be. So, but at the end of the day, like, people can get to the goals and the places that they want to achieve and unlock, and it's about having that mindset, right? That growth mindset. And you'll probably hear me talk a lot about growth mindset because that's something that I had to learn the hard way, from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So again, you'll probably hear me talk a lot about the mindset continuum because I've adopted that so much into my life every single day over the past few years. And it's something that I would encourage and would want to share to others so they can nurture their mindset as well, because from there, you'll be able to unlock so many magical things that can happen in your life. When I first started in my career, so I'm going to take y'all back. I'm going to take you all the way back more than a decade ago and how I started doing what I do now. How I became a learning experience designer. I get asked this question quite a bit, and it was by chance. So when I first started at uni, well, before that, I thought I wanted to be a civil engineer or an architect or an accountant. Well, at first I did get a scholarship. I got a free ride into uni. I got a scholarship to do civil engineering at a university here in Sydney, and it was a free ride to get in. It was great. I didn't have to pay anything, but I looked at the degree, I looked at the course structure, and I'm like, oh man, civil engineering, it sounds a bit hard, doesn't it? So I wanted to do something easier. So then I changed my mind and I went to do commerce, a Bachelor of Commerce. Not knowing what I wanted to do, I didn't know where my life was going to take me. But when I first started my degree, I looked at the course structure. I'm like, oh, look, everyone's doing accounting. I think accounting will be okay. I was okay at maths in high school. I'll probably just do that. And then I enrolled in to do accounting. I failed accounting. This is something that I don't tell people a lot, is I failed accounting 101. Not once, not twice, 3 times. And I felt like an absolute failure. Like, I couldn't even get through the core basic units. Marketing was great. That was fun. That was easy. Economics was a bit hard, but I think it was like 5 units that you needed to complete in order for you to pass to get a Bachelor of Commerce. So I was just failing, and then I left that unit to the last semester. In between, I wanted to do something fun, so I picked up Spanish for a year, I picked up Japanese for half a year, and then I found a unit called Human Resources Management, and I'm like, okay, what's this? This is interesting. I like humans. Of course I'd like to work. How does that go in between, and what does that look like? And ooh, how exciting. And so I started specializing in human resources, and it was very fun. It was interesting. It was getting insight to the whole employee life cycle and what that looks like. And then in my second year of uni, I'm like, okay, I need to get a job. I need to get a better paying job, because I was working in retail at the time. I wasn't earning a lot, and all the money that I earned selling clothes at stores, I paid for my textbooks. I didn't ask my parents for money. I came from a low income household, and all I ever wanted to do was to help my parents and support them as much as they supported me my whole entire life through their hardships and stuff too. But besides that, I then looked around and, all of the internships and all the boards, the job boards that were at uni, I just put my hands up and like, I need experience in HR, because that's the only way that I could actually get my foot in the door, is to gain experience. And, there were very blessed and lucky people in my cohort of my unit where their parents were already working in corporate, so they got jobs very, very easily. I didn't get that opportunity, and that's okay. That didn't deter me or made me feel shit about myself, because I didn't get that privilege. But what I did have was just, I was so hyper focused on getting the experience, and I didn't care how I was going to get it. Even if I had to work for free, I knew that I needed at least 6 months worth of work to then get me that first letter of recommendation. So after probably about like 4 or 5 months of just cold messaging people, trying to connect with people, getting rejected on LinkedIn. I remember I opened up my first LinkedIn during that time, like that was 14 years ago, and the amount of rejection I got on LinkedIn, I would try and reach out to HR advisors, HR managers, or people within the human resources community that I would just search up on LinkedIn, wanting to connect and to see if they could spend a good 5-10 minutes of their time to educate me and share with me their life and how they got to where they were. And not a peep. Everyone would question. I had people say, "Who are you? How did you find me?" Or, "Why would I connect with you? I don't even know you." And I'm like, oh, okay, I just wanted to, ask for some advice in how I could get into the space. But it was wild. Like that's why now when anyone who were to reach out to me on LinkedIn, even if I take 5 days to respond, because yes, I am busy, or sometimes I might take 2 weeks to respond, but I still try and respond to every single person that reaches out to me, because I know that those who are trying to get into the industry, or those who are just trying to change their careers, if they could hear from someone that has done it before, it just makes their life so much easier knowing that they got the right advice. So I hear you, I know you, I understand where y'all are coming from, because that was me. Yeah, 14 years ago when I tried little young Amanda at uni, second year, wanting to get in, her foot into the door, and got completely rejected by randoms and strangers that I looked up to. But anyway, besides the point, I then found a little internship. It was a fashion recruitment agency. I don't know if I should share this story or not, but I will anyway. I don't think they'll actually listen to this. So, my first internship. Wow. You don't understand how happy I was getting an internship. My family was very happy for me. My parents were so excited that I finally got an opportunity within the space and the field that I wanted to get into. Recruitment is a stem of human resources, so it was only natural for me to think that, if I could get in, no matter which stem or which area, I can weave my way in and just learn more to unlock, new learnings, new skills, etc. Now, this internship was unpaid for 6 months. And I'm going to preface that I was the only intern that stayed there for 6 months. Everyone else left within 2 weeks or a month, so that kind of paints the picture of the kind of place that it is. But look, regardless of how wild this place was, it gave me the first foot for a nice paying job and kickstarted my career. So I am forever grateful. But I do want to share, I hope they're not listening, but I'll share this story anyway. Two memorable actually. I'll share you two nuggets of memories that I had at this internship place. The first one was every Friday, it was the intern's responsibility to clean the fish tank. that's okay. We've got to tidy up the place. The place needed to be, mwah, schmick and span. So I get that. I respect that. So it was my first time cleaning the fish tank, and the fish was named, now you get the gist of the story, was named Barry. And the senior intern, not me, would teach the junior intern, me, to clean Barry's fish tank. Now, the steps and the procedures go like this. We scoop Barry out, we put Barry into a bowl, we then clean his rubble and all his nasties out with filtered water. We then put fresh filtered water into the bowl, and then we pop Barry back in, and happy days. He then sits on the reception desk and he's just living his best life. Me being me, I was like, yep, got it, understood, yeah. It's a fish tank. How hard could it be? And I used to own fish, so I was very confident that I would get this task done and make my bosses proud. So someone in the office decided to turn down the temperature of the filtered water tank, so it was actually quite cold. Me being me, I was so hyper-focused on the steps. I'm like, yep, Barry out, clean the tank, water in, Barry in, bam, done, I got this. So I scooped Barry out, cleaned the tank, popped fresh water in, put Barry in, and then I looked at Barry, and then he was curling in shock. And I'm like, holy fuck. Oh my gosh. I killed the director's favorite fish by accident. And I didn't know what to do, and I started panicking. I'm like, oh my fucking God, I can't believe it. This is my 4th month in, and I needed 2 months left for my internship, and I'm not going to get the letter of recommendation. I ruined my life because I killed a fish, and I wasn't, it was... I was mortified, but what did I do? I still grabbed the bowl, the fish bowl, and I put it on reception, and I just slowly walked away, and I sat back down, and my face was so pale. I just sat there, and all I could hear was a scream. It was the receptionist, and she was like, oh my God, Barry, he's dead. And then the director stood up, and everyone stood up, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, it was me, the filter water, it was me. And I thought I was gonna lose that job, and then I was just so mortified. All I could hear the director saying was, that fish got me through 2 years of good luck, rah 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 rah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I went home, and my mum was like, you have to buy them a new fish, you just have to. And then the next day I came in, I just was so apologetic, so apologetic that happened. And of course, the second story was, they gave me a task. I had to go out and clean her car. Yeah, that was memorable. Look, anyway, besides the point, that was my internship experience. I managed to stay for 6 months, and I did get a glowing letter of recommendation based on the services that I provide, minus me and the Barry incident. And you'll also notice that people who have worked with me for the past 10, 12 years, I tend to call objects, plants, or animals Barry. And that's the main reason why, because it's always in remembrance of Barry. May you rest in peace, you beautiful fish soul. So if you hear me calling things Barry, that's the main reason why. But moral of the story is, don't kill any fishes while you're doing an internship. Make sure that you actively listen and check your surroundings, and also check the filtered water so that it's not below certain degrees. Anyway, so that was my first ever experience working in a role that was going to kickstart my career, and I was very excited for that. And then after the internship, I worked in a recruitment agency, another recruitment agency for 6 months, and then where else? That then helped me get my first ever HR job. I was a HR coordinator at an engineering company, and it was freaking phenomenal. Phenomenal because I finally got a job in the space that I wanted. Not phenomenal because it wasn't exactly what I thought it'd be. I did, however, meet incredible people that I can still call my amazing friends till this day. But wow, it was an eye-opener. I didn't know that, HR had a lot of, it was a lot of like sensitive conversations, performance reviews, a lot of contracts. Damn, I looked at a lot of contracts and employment contracts, work health and safety, all the good stuff. And then I started questioning my life that, wow, I spent 4 years studying this thing and it wasn't what I expected. And however, I was just very, very grateful that I had a colleague next to me. She was in the learning and development team and she was sharing with me what she was working on. I'm like, oh, that's what I wanted to get into. Learning and development, because I love learning and I love development on me and to see others grow and thrive. So she opened a whole new world for me. I got to help her and the team with leadership development programs, coaching, all of the L&D initiatives in the company, and it was magical. And side note story, 4 months into that HR role, it was a 6-month contract. We went out with my colleagues, and then to the corner of my eye, I saw the director of the fish that I accidentally killed. And we locked eyes and I looked up at her and I'm like, oh, should I go say hi? I still felt guilty. I do still feel guilty till this day. But anyway, I just ran up to her. I'm like, hi, insert name. Do you remember me? I was the one that killed Barry. She's like, yes, I remember. How are you? And I'm like, oh, but no, she was very, very lovely. Like we just did a little quick catch up and she was so happy that I was in HR and I was happy that her business is thriving. She's actually a massive boss bae. Like, she has a recruitment agency and a fashion label on the side, a very successful internationally, like, she's pretty solid. Like, huge respect for her in her entrepreneurship. But yeah, it was just so nice to connect and see her there. That would have been like maybe a year and a half that has passed before I saw her again, but so cool. Like, and also every single intern that I know that has worked there has gone off to do amazing things with their careers. Not just within HR and P&C, like some are marketing directors and like VPs, and some have launched their own businesses. Like, it is, yeah, it's, I think that director would have been very proud that she nurtured and incubated all these amazing entrepreneurs and really cool people. Then after 6 months, I finally got my first ever learning and development role. And it was at a really, really cool place. It was a casino and a hotel and all of the in between. So it was an entertainment destination. And I got to learn and work with people within front of house and back of house, understanding how the engine of the Ferrari ran of a casino. And it was so cool. So cool. I still remember, and this was a great learning moment for me. I was still, quite shy and still learning and, seeking to learn from other people in the industry. So I didn't really know what to expect in that role. But in my first week, I sat down and I got to watch our amazing learning and development consultant run orientation, where she was presenting, so she was facilitating and she was meeting, greeting all these new newbies. I was in the crowd too, so I was a newbie. And then after the session finished, I was like, wow, that was great. Oh my gosh, I love this place. She's like, yeah, awesome. You're doing that next week. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Excuse me, huh? What? So she was like, you're going to have to get up there. I'm going to give you 1 week. You're going to learn the facilitator's guide and you're going to present and welcome the new starters. All 80 of them. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And, me being me, that was a big, courageous action that I had to take to overcome, one, my fear of speaking in front of a large crowd. I've never spoken in front of that much people in my entire life. And also I wanted to learn how to project my voice in a room as well. I wanted to become a better facilitator or learn how to facilitate, because I'm in a learning development role. It only makes sense for me to learn, those core skills. And I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. I remember I took that, I think it was like a 50-page train the trainer guide that she's written, and I sat at home and I was deep diving, reading everything to the values. Mind you, I was in my second week, like getting ready to move into my second week, learning the values, learning the tone of voice, it's speaking in front of the mirror, and just like learning to project my voice and facilitate. And I was holding like a brush, just like, pretending it was a microphone, like, I got this. And then on the day finally came, it was 80 fresh faces that I've never met before. They were here getting excited to start a new job. As like myself, I was still new. I was excited. So I got there really, really early. I set up all the chairs, made sure the projector was fine. And I had my amazing, learning and development consultant, my peer, just standing behind there, just like, you got this. And I'm like, bruh. I was melting inside because I didn't know what to expect. So I remember holding the microphone and I was like, hello, welcome. And, I think the first 5 minutes was a bit hilarious in my mind, right? I think what people don't know is that the 80 amazing humans that were there on their first day, their engagement is like super, super high. They are so highly engaged. They are ready to go. They are so in sync and in tune to what you are saying as the presenter or someone representing the company. So they are just in awe of you, which is pretty cool, right? And then, so I was facilitating the whole day. There was breaks in betweens. And then at the end of it, I felt so proud of myself that I did that. I could have backed out, right? But I didn't. And I just had all these amazing new starters come. It's like, Amanda, I'm so excited to work here. I'm like, yeah. And you know what? From that day forward, for the next 2.5 years, I was facilitating orientation every fortnight. And I did great. I sure damn hope I did great. But that was probably the biggest moment, one of the biggest moments in my career where I did something so completely out of my comfort zone. And the best way that I learned was to just dive straight in. I didn't have my certificate 4 in training and assessment. So here in Australia, that certificate would help you become a certified trainer. And I would joke with my team that I spent like 1.5 years training people illegally. I don't know why I said that, but it was pretty funny at that time because I felt like I wasn't certified to do so. But, my company was great. They paid for my Cert 4 at the end of it. But yeah, it was a great solid 2.5 years. I learned, how to facilitate larger workshops, smaller workshops, like coaching and doing leadership stuff. And, I just did completely end-to-end learning and development in that role. And I honestly am so grateful and thankful for that role, in that part of my career, because that was where it really helps me form an understanding of the complete end-to-end employee life cycle, and it was wild. I learned so much there, and I also got to eat a lot of good food, like probably one of the best places I've ever worked for in terms of free food. Like I was best friends with the chefs, and they would come in the morning and like test their products or test their dishes, and they'll just knock on the door and be like, Amanda, do you want to try this? I'm like, hell yes. I'll be having like eggs Benedict and like really cool like with salmon and stuff for breakfast, and I was just their guinea pig. I was just tasting and eating everything. I'm like, you guys just bring it my way, I will eat it all. But really fond memories there. Met some great, incredible people, great learning moments that I'll probably share in my future podcast episodes. But yeah. And then I think during my 1.5 years or the early, in the second year of my role there, I wanted to earn some extra cash on the side. So I decided to help my auntie out at a nail salon. Now, please remember, I want to tell you this story and just keep it in the back of your mind, because for me, I truly believe in meaningful synchronicities, and also everything happens for a reason. in my life, that is. And I'm sure in everyone's life, so everything just happens for reasons. You know, there's sometimes you get some really interesting scenarios that happen to you and poof, there you go. It just, magic occurs. So anyway, I helped my auntie out at her nail salon. Yes, my auntie owns a nail salon. She owns 3, and I helped her, a couple of weekends over Christmas just to, bring some vibes into the store. I'll be like chit-chatting away with the customers because I can't stop talking. And then I met this lovely, lovely lady named Carolina. If you're listening, Carolina, hello. And she came in, she was heavily pregnant. She was walking in. She's like, I need to get my nails. I'm like, yep, no worries. So I sat her down and I did her nails. And then she looked at me. She's like, your English is really good. Do you work here like full time? And I'm like, thank you. And no, I'm just here helping my auntie who owns the store. She's like, oh, okay. Look, genuine question, totally fine. Bless her. And we started talking. She's like, so what do you actually do for work? I'm like, oh, I work in human resources. She's like, oh, me too. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, well, not in HR. I actually work in learning development. She's like, oh my gosh, me too. And I'm like, fantastic. I'm like, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I'm a global VP of in learning and development at a tech company. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. That sounds nice. And me again taking up some courageous action. I was like, is it okay if I connect with you on LinkedIn? And she's like, yeah, totally. So then we added each other on LinkedIn, and that was it. She had a beautiful set of nails, and I greeted her farewell, and that was that. And then 1 year later, I didn't see her ever since, that time. But 1 year later, I was, finishing up work, and I was scrolling on LinkedIn, and I saw a role that came up. It was a learning and development consultant role. And at that time I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to, do I have enough experience? Am I ready to be an L&D consultant? Like, what does that even look like? What does that even mean? And I'm like, this company looks so familiar. I'm like, it looks very familiar. I'm just going to hop on, and see who's there. Guess who works there? It was Carolina as the global VP of this tech company. And I'm like, wow, stars aligned. And I'm like, should I just message her? I haven't seen her in a year. Maybe her nails need some redoing. No. So I reached out to her on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm the girl that did your nails. And then she was like, yeah, I remember you. Come in for an interview. And I'm like, oh, really? Great. Blah, blah, blah. Happy days. And then I went in, I did an interview. And, she was so incredible in giving me an opportunity. I got the role. Not because I did her nails and I did an awesome job at it, but because she saw so much potential in me. She saw how hard I worked at my current workplace and all the initiatives that I've done, the impact that I've made there. And yeah, she gave me that opportunity, and I am forever grateful to her. And also I can call her a really good friend of mine right now. She's been a very, very good friend, and I am super grateful. And it's, so amazing the people that you get to meet on your journey that could just change your life, completely change your life. So after that, I then went and worked at this amazing tech company with Carolina. And then, I was there for, I think, 1 year and 8 months. I learned so much about the tech world. I learned so much about working in a global organization, a global tech company, a global tech startup. Worked really closely with developers, worked really closely with the product team, engineering team, finance, the whole shindig. And yeah, it was really, really interesting and cool. And then all of a sudden, I was standing at the printer, printing out an onboarding guide. And I was looking outside the window and I saw the beautiful Opera House, and I also saw the beautiful Harbour Bridge, Sydney Harbour Bridge, and I'm like, damn, I need to quit my job right now. I need to go on a sabbatical. I need to take a break. I need to do something for myself. And I turned around and the HR director was there, lovely Helen. And I'm like, hey, Helen, I just want to let you know that I'm resigning today. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I just need to do this. I don't know why. I have nothing lined up. But maybe I might just, my brother and I have been talking about opening up a food truck, so maybe we'll just do that. Or I'll just do some art. I don't know. I'll figure it out. And so that, my friends, was my first ever sabbatical, and it was the best. I'm so glad that I did it, because I think deep down I was just so overdue for a break in my career, just to re-energize, just to recalibrate, just to realign with who I am and what I wanted to do in my life. Because I think at that point as well, me hanging out with too many designers, I thought I wanted to become a UX designer or a product designer. There was opportunities at the organization to do that, but I just didn't really know. But then I didn't want to do a complete career change. I still really loved learning development, and I was just like, you know what, I just need a break. So I did. I took a sabbatical. I left this amazing tech company with my, I just left, and I had nothing lined up. I had no income, and I was like, you know what? I feel like just brushing up on my design skills. So then I did some freelance graphic design. And my first client was my friend, Lisa. She, her family owned a pharmaceutical company, and they needed someone to design a catalog in InDesign. Mind you, I've never used Adobe InDesign in my entire life, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it a crack. She's like, I need it in 2 days. And I'm like, yep, no worries. I'm like, how many pages is it? She's like, it's a 62-page catalog. I'm like, okay, dokey. Okie dokie. I got it. I got this. She's like, have you used InDesign before? She asked me, have I used InDesign before? And I'm like, yeah, totally used InDesign before. And I'm like, fuck, I've never used InDesign before. And I remember pulling like an all-nighter, even probably more than that actually, just learning how to use InDesign whilst designing this catalog for her, a product catalog for her, so that she could then send it off to her customers for around the world. And I have never learnt a tool so fast in my entire life, knowing that someone was paying me to do a thing. I did it. And I didn't tell her that I didn't know how to use InDesign until maybe like a year later. And I was like, hey, Lisa, do you remember when you asked me to design something for your business? And she's like, yeah. Well, I actually never used InDesign. She's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I know, cool, yeah. She's like, oh my gosh, but you did a great job. I'm like, thank you. And then from there, I started picking up more just random, like I was on Airtasker, getting any graphic design opportunity I could just to make a couple of quick bucks. And thank gosh at that time I was still living at home with my parents. So very, very blessed that they supported me. Were they happy with me leaving my high paying job? Absolutely not. Did they want to disown me? Yeah, they really sure did. Wanted to disown me because they couldn't fathom why I would leave stability and a high paying job to design a pamphlet for a car dealership for $40. It was great. But that's exactly what I did. But you know what? Me doing that, leaving my full-time job and just learning more and doing things that made me happy was just so rewarding for me. I was able to just go out on a Wednesday and sit by the coffee shop and just watch people and just learn new tools and, catch up with friends that haven't caught up in a while. And I then helped, my friend and her husband do some wedding invitations. They were launching a wedding invitation business, doing letterpress, like beautiful, beautiful letterpress stuff. And I was designing their designs for them. And, I got to do some murals, and I got to, paint some boards for coffee shops. And I was subcontracted to paint a car for a charity. I was spray painting car, Toy Story, things like that. I just made me feel so whole again, like back to what I truly, truly love and desired, and that was design. Like I love getting my hands dirty in paint. I love getting into the tools. I love taking people's visions and bringing it to life, and that truly brought me so much joy. And so I did that for 9 months, and then suddenly, that thing in the back of your mind tells you need to go get a proper job, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I truly did miss learning. I really missed learning and development, and that was, my craft for so long. And I didn't know how I was going to blend my love for design and then my love for learning development together. I didn't know what opportunities were available, but I remember, near 9 months, my husband and I, we saved up for a deposit for a house, and we didn't want that big commitment of purchasing a home or having debt yet. So we actually we took that money and we went to Scandinavia for 2 months, and we just traveled, and it was the best holiday I've ever had in my entire life till this day. And it was so worth it. So worth it. Everything. We took all of our savings and we just went for it. We completely YOLO'd life, and it was magic. So whilst I was over there, of course the fear crept in after when we came back. I'm like, shit, I need to get a job. And so I started looking into instructional design, e-learning development, and I'm like, I never really dabbled a lot in the e-learning space. Like I maybe did like half a module at my old workplace at the tech company, but I really didn't dive deep into the tools at the time. And so I applied for a role and they asked me for a sample, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I got you. I got a sample. I'll send you a sample next week if that's okay, because I'm currently in Scandinavia. I was in Iceland and I didn't have my laptop with me, but I'll get back to you. She's like, yep, no worries, next week is fine. So then we got home. I had 1 day to design a thing to send to them. And this was in 2017, I think, 2017 or 2016. And I was like, okay, if I'm a learning and development team, what would I want to see? What kind of projects would I be designing? And so my brain went straight to bullying and harassment. So then I went on to freepick.com at that time, which was still there and alive, which is great. I downloaded like an isometric, I'm going to get into design now, isometric like island. It was really cute illustration, and I reskinned that to the company's branding. I then created some characters, and my goal was to create like a bullying and harassment like scenario based game and the goal was to take things out of context and to put it into context. So let's say, you're entering into this world, your character is Anna, and the goal of Anna is to just go get a cup of coffee, but it's not that easy. Every time she walks on and roams around this island, she gets hits with scenarios and characters asking questions around bullying, harassment. And so I designed this in a day. I downloaded a articulate storyline, which is a authoring tool. So a tool where you get to design e-learning to put it into a learning platform for your audience to experience. I downloaded the free trial and then I sent it to them. And then I also went for the interview and I came back. So I scored an interview, came back, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I've got this role. Like, if not, I'll probably have to find a learning and development role and maybe specialize in that space afterwards. So I remember driving, my friend and I, we were out like 2-3 hours outside of Sydney. We were going through a valley, we're getting some meat pies and just having a nice girls' day. And I get a phone call from, the lady that has been interviewing me. And so I pulled over in the middle of like the highway. And then she was like, oh, so Amanda, we'd like to offer you the role. And I was screaming. I literally put her on like, I put myself on mute and I'm like screaming with my friend, and she was just telling me my salary and my super, and she was telling the numbers. My friend and I looking at each other, we're like, oh my God, I'm rich. Rich in life, that is. And so then I accepted the role on the phone, and it was such a moment, like, that was my first fluke of getting a job that easily. From, if I were to rewind 6 years ago, when I was trying to get that internship, when I was trying to get my first foot in the door to get my job in recruitment or HR, it was such a journey, like the amount of rejections that I had. But when I surrendered and just went with the flow, and whatever came, like I was so grateful that that opportunity came about, because that helped me start my career as a learning experience designer or instructional designer or whatever you want to call it. But wild. Yeah, wild. So I was there for 9 months or so, I think, or a year. Far out, I forgot, but it was so fun. It was great. I was designing all sorts of e-learning modules and animations and video work, and yeah, and then I got to work for another tech company, a fashion tech company, and I did a lot of stuff there. End to end, I was a learning experience designer there, so I did, quite a bit of facilitation, workshop, did a little bit of e-learning, which was cool. And then I remember I was sitting in the car. Had a shit day at work. You just have one of those days where you just want to scream in a pillow. So I was sitting in my car after a long day at work, and then I just screamed. I was just like, fuck this. Just screaming. It was like such a shit day at work. And then I get a phone call. From, I don't know who the fuck it was from. And I was like, hello. And I answered it. And it was a recruiter for a company that I've always wanted to work for since my first day at university. It was my dream company. And I'm going to rewind when I was at uni. I think it was my first HR class, HR 101. And I sat down, and the teacher asked us, list your top 5 companies that you want to work for. The first company that I wrote was Lendlease. I've always wanted to work for Lendlease. Lendlease is an Australian-based construction engineering company, and they've built very beautiful, beautifully architectured buildings and schools and hospitals and universities all around the world. And I was just so in awe by them. I always just wanted to work for them. And I remember applying for a role during my learning development coordinator role. I remember I applied a role there to work for them, and I got rejected. It was for a learning and development advisor role at Lendlease, and I got rejected, and I was like, that's okay, one day. And that one day came literally about 5 years later, when I was sitting in the car park screaming. Because I just was not enjoying my day. And it was a contract role as well. It was a 3-month contract at Lendlease, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. When will I ever get a chance to work with this amazing company again? So I did it. So then I decided to quit my job to go work as a contractor. So no stability. Just a contractor, not knowing when my contract would end. Well, it says 3 months. I'm like, yep, I'll take that risk, knowing that if I could work for my dream company, I would definitely take it. So I did. And then I was there for 3 months, and I was just really, really enjoying my time there. By far, I think I've had the best manager at Lendlease. So Lisa, if you're listening, you are the absolute best. Like, Lisa taught me so much about life and work and designing the life that you want, and also creating that healthy lifestyle for you. And she was just so supportive of my journey. And, after the 3 months, she extended my contract, and she gave me a permanent role at Lendlease. And I'm like, yes, the dream's coming true. I was there for, I think, around 2 years, and I was so comfortable. I was ready for Lendlease to be my, that's it, my forever job. I was so happy. I was getting paid great. Lifestyle was great. Everything was great. And then COVID happened, and COVID then cut my role into half, more than half. So I was working 5 days, getting full pay, and then my role was cut down to 2 days. And eventually something in my gut told me that I was going to lose my job, due to COVID. But that's okay. I was like, whatever happens, happens. And at that point, my manager, Lisa, was so supportive and, very empathetic, and understood that, Amanda, it's time for you to go and do your own thing. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I I think you should go and do your own e-learning business. You've been talking about it. You are so talented. You got this. And then a part of me was like, no. I know I talked about it all the time, but I didn't really mean it. Like I love stability and I love staying here. So I want to stay, Lisa. I don't want to go. I want to stay. I'm so comfortable here. She's like, nope, you need to go. And she was like, I love you, but you have so much more potential than here, and you need to go and create magic in the world. And I'm like, okay, boss. But she did it out of love, and I knew that. And I knew I needed to do it for me as well, because if I lived my life not taking risks and doing these things, I wouldn't know what the benefit is, right? And so I got to risk it to get the biscuit. And whatever that biscuit is, even if it's a not so tasty biscuit or very tasty biscuit, I'm willing to take that risk just to try, If I could just try it and do things once, that'll be great. So then I did. I decided I quit my job again. And oh my gosh, my parents were like, oh my gosh, how could you leave Lend-Lease? How could you leave a high-paying job again? Now you have no clients, you have no pay, you're paying a mortgage. Oh my God, Amanda. I'm like, Mum, it's all gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's okay. I will find a job. And look, if I don't get clients, then I'll just go back to full-time work. Like, it's fine. I know I can get a job. And she's like, oh my gosh. Anyway, my mum was very, very mad at me. But I pushed through, and I remember going over to Carolina's house, so my old boss, which we became very, very good friends, and she was helping me, design this, my business and what that would look like and all that stuff. And she was, we spent like a full day brainstorming, like, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that, da da da, like, I'll help you this and that. And then I get a phone call. This was probably a month after me leaving Lend-Lease with no stable pay. I received a phone call, and it was a lovely lady who saw me on LinkedIn and said, I have an opportunity. I would love to subcontract you for an opportunity. And I'm like, she was on speaker, Carolyn was listening, and I'm like, yes, no worries. I'll send you through a quote, da. And she's like, yeah, no worries. Can you give me a rough estimate? Yeah, I did quick girl maths, and I stated a figure. I just times up my rate, and I'm like, I knew how long it was going to take me to develop, and I said that figure, thinking that she might say no. And she's like, yep, no worries. Just send through a quote, and let's get started. I was so shocked. That was my first client. I was I remember hanging up that phone, and my friend and I, we were on the floor rolling of excitement. I was like, oh my God, my first ever client. My first ever client. I can't even say it. Yeah, saying that out loud is just wild. My first ever client. My first ever paying client. A client that trusts me. Someone that trusts my skills and expertise enough to pay me. Wild. Absolutely wild. I was so proud of myself, that adrenaline and that just, absolutely wild. So I got my first job, guys. I got my first gig, my first paying gig. And then from there, my first year of freelancing was purely based off referrals. I completely put myself out there, not knowing when income will come. I was just ready to take on anything. I reached out to my network. I reached out to my friends that were in HR, seeing if they knew anyone, or L&D if they knew anyone that needed some, e-learning development or animation work and any learning solutions. And business was going great. It was great. It was so great that I burnt myself out because I refused to seek support and I refused to ask for help. And I was so stubborn that I need to do everything myself. And I completely burnt out to a crisp. I didn't sleep. I was working probably 16, 20-hour days. I was running on 3 hours sleep every day. And I was just working. But, the clients didn't see that side. No one saw that side. My family, unfortunately, copped it. They saw a not very healthy Amanda, and it was unfair for them to see me like that. I missed out on a lot of family events. I missed out on quality time with my family because I was so hyperfixated and in working, and it wasn't great. It really, really wasn't great. And burnout was something that I created for myself. I acknowledge that, and I see that, and I can, reflecting back, there were so many ways I could have done it better. But, I then decided to pause my freelancing. It was a lot. I reduced it all the way back to just having 1 to 2 clients. How funny is that? Reduced and still had just 1 to 2 clients. I had like 6 clients just working back to back. It was just insane. And then I started missing working in a team, to be honest. Like, I love working. I miss humans. I truly just miss humans. I missed working in a team. I missed that support from a manager. I missed working with peers where we can learn and jam and brainstorm. Like, freelancing was so freaking lonely, man. It was so lonely. And so, yeah, I saw an opportunity at Shopify. And so I applied, and again, they asked me for a sample, but this time I was prepared because I was already doing the work, right? I was prepared because I was already in the space. So then I designed a mock-up of like an e-learning module for them, and yeah, they loved it. And the team was just great. Like, I really enjoyed my time at Shopify. It was super fun. It was a place where I learnt about having a balance in life. Isn't it funny? I feel like every place that I work at really teaches me some life lessons. Like the universe is telling me and giving me a life lesson as I enter these new experiences. But yeah, at Shopify, my manager at the time was so freaking cool. He was just a ball of energy. So just loves life so much, and he loved his work and he loved his like personal life, and to see him operate in a way where he blended those two so seamlessly, and it was okay to have that balance. Like, I felt so inspired to focus on me more than focus on work. And so, like, I would remember he would like call us from the beach when we do team meetings, or he would be like, I'm taking my girls out to, his daughters out to this and to that, and then I'm baking like a lamb roast at the moment, team. I'll be back in 3 hours. But the thing was, he would always get shit done. He would deliver quality work, never missed anything, and just truly inspired me and empowered me to do my best work with also living my best life, and it was so cool. And also my team was great. Like, we were a remote team, so we were scattered all around Australia, but we learned so much, and it was so fun, the events that, Shopify ran. And I remember they invited John Legend to come and serenade to Shopify for like the end of year remote party, and I was just blown away. Like, Shopify was great. The way that they've empowered so many business owners and entrepreneurs to sell their products and services online so seamlessly. I love it. I love it. I loved their mission. It was make commerce easy for everyone. I forgot. Don't quote me on that, but I will find out. I forgot what the quote was, but it was so great and it was so fun. And so as I was there for like 9 months, I was cruising through, and then I had Canva come knock on my door. Like, at this point, I'm very freaking grateful. I'm still so grateful that I could get these opportunities, fly my way. And again, it was all based on my hard work. Truly, it's based on my hard work and the energy and the effort that I put into my career for the past 10 years, decade at this point. So very, very grateful. And, and then I went for an interview at Canva. Like, come on, man, Canva. Like, you can't not go for an interview at Canva. And it was such a magical experience. And I'm like, oh, do I leave? Do I go? Do I leave? And I'm like, fuck it. When will I have another opportunity like this? And I know my manager at Shopify will understand. And so I had an honest conversation. I really, really did. Like, I'm like, look, I want to let you know that this is what's happening, and it is no reflection on the work here. It's just more for my career, and I want to think about myself. And it's not every day that an opportunity like this comes again. So I'm going to take it. And he was like, oh my God, yes, go for it. Take it. And so I did. I left, and then I was at Canva, and then Canva was freaking amazing. It's exactly how it is portrayed in the world. You see the employee experience, you see the people experience at Canva, all of the posts and all the happiness and the fun and the vibes. I'm letting y'all know it's exactly how it's portrayed. It is so freaking fun. It is so magical. And with that magic also means a lot of work. They don't have all those fun, delightful things for no reason. And, you can only imagine the caliber of performance that's at Canva. Like, I have never in my life worked for a team that was so high performing. Like, if you think you're a unicorn, not that I think that I'm a unicorn, I think I'm an alien, by the way, not a unicorn. But if you think you're an alien and you come into Canva, every single person is an alien, or every single person is a unicorn. Like, everyone is striving for excellence, and they all have come from excellence. They all have come from high performing teams or have been a high performer. And when you're operating and working with so many high performers, the biggest thing that you get is imposter syndrome. I have never had so much imposter syndrome in my life. It was wild, and it's all learning, and I think you learn every day. You learn, when you're working in a new team, you're entering a new dynamic, and I have never worked for such a big team as well, like a big learning team. The people team at Canva, I think there's around 300 people. And in the learning team itself, we had about 20 people. So I'm used to being the only learning designer or another learning designer, but we all have our own separate projects. And I'm used to working in a small learning team of like 3 to 5, 6 if I'm lucky. But here it was a team of 20. So I'm like, shit, how do I remember everyone's names? How do I work with people? And like, there's like so many like groups and teams and squads, and I'm like, yeah. So it was such a big learning curve, but those learning curves I will definitely share in some future episodes as I focus in more on having a growth mindset. But my journey at Canva was amazing. I finally felt like I was home. Like, I finally found my people. I finally found an organization that is just doing so much for the world, not just by, democratizing design for people to use, but also them just being good humans. Like, Canva has so many good humans in there doing such good work, not just for the organization, for the people, but they're good humans to the communities, all the volunteer work that they get to do and the contributions that they make. It was just so fulfilling. Like, it filled my cup. And, people always ask me, why did you leave then if you love Canva so much? Well, my amazing dad had a health scare, and that shook my whole family. It really did. It was after I had a stressful year, because I had so many things on my plate. I had weddings, and I had, lots of things to plan for, and thank God my wedding's over. But my dad had a health scare, and honestly, I just had my whole life flash before me. And the thought of losing my dad, and the thought of, anything happening to my family, like my parents, my husband, or my brother, it just really got to me. And also, like, being in the role at Canva that I did, I was looking at Canva values every single day. I was reading their languaging, the tone of voice, and what they did for the world. And it also made me reflect and think what I wanted to do for the world. Like if I wasn't working at Canva, if it was just me as Amanda Wing, like who is she and what will she be doing for the world, you know? And looking at my team and looking at what Canva did, like I just wanted to help people. I wanted to do more for learning teams. I wanted to do more for people in various communities. I wanted to do more just to help people and bring just more positivity and joy into the world, but I didn't know how. And yeah, it was but all I knew was that I needed to leave Canva, not because of anything that happens. Like Canva was freaking great to me and they're so supportive of me, but it was just I needed to leave to just reassess and think about what I wanted to do. And yeah, and so I did, and so I decided to leave. It was such a difficult decision to leave, and I wanted to spend more time with my dad and my family and just me again. Like I needed to find out what Amanda 2.0 is and who is she and like what does she want to do. And then I spent like 3 months just trying to figure myself out. And so the Learning Jam Club, I just want to create a space where we can continually celebrate learning, celebrate the practices, the experiments that we've had, the failures, the developmental moments, just creating a safe space to share all of that, you know. And my whole entire life, I've met so many incredible people that have continually inspired me, and I'm going to bring them on board on this journey, chat to them, and get them to share their story, because everyone has a story. You know, you might take a look at someone and see their successes and achievements in that moment, but they have a complete backstory in how they got there. And so that's the things that I want to share. And I'm a true passionate and enthusiast with embracing the growth mindset. And you hear me talk a lot about the growth mindset continuum, because that's something that I truly base my whole life on. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So everyone that's listening right now, I've only just scratched the surface to my mind and my life. But I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to share more in the next one. Okay, bye.